Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Alright, I'll keep this one quick because it looks like the video is already choppy. Maybe. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. I hope everyone is doing okay. I've been working with the Wi-Fi to try to get the Wi-Fi straight. And so if I'm in and out today with shorter videos, it's because I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. But nevertheless, with this video is relatively short on its own. Let me check my volume. I hope everyone is doing all right today. This has been somewhat of a rough morning. I found out that Google or YouTube is stealing over $1,000 from last month. So that's awesome. They're not paying me for the wages of July. So essentially the money that was given through Super Chats and the money that was given or earned through ad revenue is sitting in Google's pocket, and Google is not going to release those funds. I've done a video showing the money that Google owed. Google apparently have taken to itself that they don't have to pay people money that they've earned. Imagine working at McDonald's for 2 weeks because McDonald's doesn't pay you for a week in arrears, and for whatever reason McDonald's comes and say, yeah, we've decided we're not going to give you the money for the time that you've worked. Sorry. You can't do anything about it. It's the terms of use. I mean, after all, we've had some progressives arguing that the terms of use to some degree should be considered to be God, and that if somebody signs this kind of exploitive terms of use, that they should be completely held by it, because whatever they put in their terms of use is, for all intents and purposes, God. You can be held into an exploitive contract. I understand an argument to say that going forward, yes, you're a private company. I suppose you can do that and say we're not going to put ads on your content going forward, and we're not going to allow people to give super chats going forward. But you've told people that you were giving the artist super chat, and you've decided to keep the super chats. That's theft and fraud. That's theft and fraud. Jumping from the theft and fraud that YouTube is committing at this point on its artists, on its content creators, let's jump to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has a double-digit lead on Donald Trump. Now, this is before it comes out that Donald Trump has committed campaign finance violations. This is before the people committing, getting prosecuted and convicted in court. This is before the round-the-clock coverage of people stepping out of the courtroom, implicating Donald Trump's name in crimes. Before all of that, one independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, that tiny state, has a double-digit lead on the President of the United States. Joe Biden comes in a close second, with Elizabeth Warren coming in close third. Nobody else. Everyone else Donald Trump beats, at least by this poll. At the very least, this looks great for Sanders. Sanders needs to distance himself from Biden. I have no idea why Biden is even in this contest. Biden hasn't done squat in order to get into this contest, and yet Biden is standing there nonetheless. He gets an everyman persona because he gaffes and he says stupid shit, and he does really pervy shit when he's near kids and women. This is not the same thing as being an everyday guy, nor is this the same thing as representing the interests of the working class. Just because you make an ass out of yourself, that is not indicative of you representing the working class, any more than Donald Trump being a liar is evidence of Donald Trump being honest. Let's take a look at this. This is awesome to me, because this is the argument that lefties made all last year that Sanders would have won. The simple refrain, whispered, held in the hearts. And if you asked Hillary Clinton at 3 a.m. when it was just her and her God, would Bernie Sanders have beat Donald Trump? Hillary Clinton, resoundingly, unabashedly, only talking to her God, would be forced to scream out, yes, yes. Scream out yes, like Mel Gibson screamed out freedom when he was being tortured in Braveheart. Freedom! That's how she would have to scream out yes, because the people understand that Bernie Sanders would have won. Everybody knows it. And what the thing that Sanders had going all the way back to 2000, the previous election, is still there. And people are still looking for it. Because what they thought was change with Donald Trump was just rhetoric. It was just rhetoric. They know the real thing when they see it. And if given the opportunity to vote for it. And I can't say that. That's not true. They don't necessarily always know the real thing when they see it. But when given the opportunity to vote for the real thing versus a blue-collar billionaire who's just pretending, they will invariably choose the real thing, providing the Democrats don't fuck it up and get in the way. This is by double-digit margins, Sanders mopping the floor with Trump in the latest 2020 poll. And I think that one of the biggest news stories here, too, right here, polling results released Wednesday by Political Morning Consult polls shows that Bernie Sanders, who is widely speculated to make another run for the Oval Office in 2020, would beat President Donald Trump by double digits. Would beat the stuffing out of him. It wouldn't be close. It would be a stomping, an embarrassment. And, oh my, was there someone else running against me? Landslide. And you know that word that I like? Mandate. Mandy. That's a Mandy. Like me a Mandy. Sanders has repeatedly in face-off between Sanders and Trump, the senator garnered a 12-point lead, with 44% of the respondents favoring Sanders, 32% who said they would vote to re-elect the president, and 24% who didn't know or had no opinion. I would wager that Sanders would get a large share of that I don't know or don't have an opinion the closer they get to election season, and the closer the distinction is made between the cutting your arm off with Trump versus the socialized medicine of Bernie Sanders. Now, of course, Sanders keeps playing this down, saying he's not trying to run and all this other stuff. He's just trying to push back. Look at this. All of these other Democrats lose. Warren barely wins. Just barely. The skin of her teeth wins. Cory Booker loses. Kamala Harris loses. Andrew Cuomo loses. Christian Gillibrand loses. Eric Holder loses. Michael Avenatti loses. Governor Steve Bullock loses. John Delaney loses. And any other corporatist hack that you want to put up against Donald Trump. They've had a media campaign. Understand what's amazing about this. For 2 years, for 2 complete years, they've had a media campaign calling Donald Trump everything but a child of God. From the time he was running for office to now, they've called him a Russian plant. They said he's worked with everything he's did from a foreign policy perspective. CNN was against. All of the media organizations was against, with the exception of Fox News, who was tepidly for. And they've called him a Russian plant, Russian stooge, all of this stuff for 2 complete years. You could not have turned on CNN or MSNBC without seeing a story going after, putting a knife in, in Donald Trump. And this is from somebody who don't like Donald Trump. And after all of that, after concerted attention, after CNN full-throatedly buying the Democrats' narrative of events, throwing out objectivity out the window completely, you still have a situation where Donald Trump wipes the floor with the majority of the party. That's amazing. That's amazing. Biden hasn't even been in public light. So yeah, I would imagine Biden's thing was looks this high. People don't remember the pervy, gaffe-written Biden, who's essentially a corporatist. Elizabeth Warren, that's embarrassing that anybody would compare Elizabeth Warren to Donald Trump. I got to be honest. Elizabeth Warren, at the very least, you get somebody who's trying to regulate the banks. But she even barely wins. Like we said in the last election, you have a populace on the right. You don't hobble your populace on the left. You set him free. You let him do what he does. You're at a point in history where the society itself is looking for some level of correction. That level of correction, they're looking for the left and they're looking to the right. I personally think this system is going to collapse before the system actually gets better. Meaning before we get to a point of having real society, real civilization, a rational civilization, this has to collapse. That said, we still rail against the night. The society is looking for correction. It's moved so far to the right that it's looking for the correction to the left. Now, in this case, it doesn't know how to articulate that. It just flails. And it hears things about change, and this is going to be different, and that's going to be different. And it's something about immigrants, and something about jobs, something about billionaires. And you have people who are propagandized to from the time they were infants to now. And they believe that there's a two-party system, and they believe in the country, and all this other stuff. They have all of these myths in their head, but they know in the fiber of their being that something is fundamentally wrong with the way we've been going about our affairs. They just don't have the language to articulate it. It is looking for a correction. Instead of hobbling your best stallion, hitting your best horse in the knees, you open a barn, you slap him on the ass, and you say, run free. And you let that lefty horse just run at the top of his lungs, that Mustang just running, just barreling, and you run behind it holding a scarf and just wave it in the air as it runs. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. Not cheat him, not hit him in the knees, not put something on his feet so he can't run as fast, and then shock to shit when the right-wing candidate wins. These polls are telling you something, but those polls were telling you something in the last election. Just didn't want to listen. Bernie fucking Sanders is the man that you want. Healthcare, education. You can have whatever society you want, providing you're willing to deal with the consequences of the arrangement. Do you like the consequences of this arrangement? With half of the country being either in poverty or low wage, with a third of the country, I think it was like a third, that was in dire poverty, parts of the country being in third world conditions, despite this being the richest country on the planet. You're spending $1 trillion a year, nearly $1 trillion a year on military. You don't have high-speed rail. You don't have health care. You don't have college. Your kids are paying like $30,000 on their backs just for the temerity of getting an education. I understand that you were raised incrementally into the society, meaning from one incremental generation to the next, you were raised. And so there are certain things that seem odd or foreign or abnormal, but that's only within the scope of your lifetime, and that's only within the scope of your societal experience, your cultural flexibility, your cultural relativity, your cultural experience. What is the world that you want? Start there. What is the world that you want? What is the world that you believe human beings should inherit? How do you believe human beings should live? And why do you believe human beings should live in that way? Do you believe that they should live in a way that's somewhat sustainable to the natural environment? And that we take care of one another in the way that we go about our affairs? Do you believe that it's chaos, the economic chaos that drives people to certain personal stress, to breaking down mentally and physically and psychologically? What is the world that you want? That's what I'm asking you. I don't believe that putting in one candidate is going to change the entirety of the system or save the world. Like I said, I believe the world is going to collapse before it gets any better, because I don't see how it gets better under the arrangement that we have. But that's kind of besides the point. As it goes down, if there's any opportunities that I can to right the ship, I want to take those opportunities. I think this is an opportunity, and it's one that I've never had in my lifetime, to vote for somebody who I actually want to vote for. So, where there is no conflict between who I'm voting for and what I think the intentions of the person are, at least in many of the respects to what the person is trying to put forth in their platform. Bernie fucking Sanders. He's still there. He still has that star power. So I'm going to leave this because I don't want this one to go too long. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Also, there's a link in the description box. If you ever want to click on it, there's a little Vulcan that will come up and shake, and yeah, like right there. Who sent that? Where is it? Yeah, this morning has been a brutal morning. When you find out you've lost over $1,000, stolen $1,000, and they can't even give you the justification for why they stole it. Meaning they can't even show you specifically what are the videos that they're using to come up with this particular judgment. It's a company. They can do whatever they want. It's private enterprise. And what makes it worse, it's like, well, look, I don't necessarily have an issue with moving videos if you're saying that it's breaking some kind of violation, but you got to at least tell me the videos. And it's possible that it's other people copying my videos. Like there's a video with Guy McPherson where the guy shoved the videos together. It's possible they could be using something like that in order to say there's duplication on the account, with meaning somebody else is duplicating mine. There's another one where somebody else was duplicating the video with me interviewing Sane Progressive. I have a few of these out. I have no idea what they're talking about. And then for them to say, we're going to take your wages from the previous month. Rational National and what's his name can make the argument all they want that terms of use and everything else are God, and terms of use can do whatever they want. That's essentially a level of arbitration as you go into the company. But putting in a clause that allows you to steal wages that were already earned shows the folly of this idea of using arbitration in these ways. I mean, it's utter folly. They're stealing money. I mean, it's outright theft of money. All of the people that gave super chats in July that thought that money was going to the content creator. I'm sorry, it's not. That money is going to a multi-billion-dollar company that just decided to put that money in their pockets. I love this system. I want all choices to be between self-hating neocon plutocrats and anarcho plutocrats. Yeah, pretty much. Here's your choice. You have a plutocrat who's a blue-collar billionaire who says he's for the working man and has no policy that's for the working man. And we have this other person who says they're also for the working man and they are not for the working man. Yeah, I mean, you're trapped between a rock and a hard place. A whole month funds for a video or two duplicated is absolutely ridiculous. Well, here's the thing. I'm not even owning up to there was a video duplicated because I don't duplicate videos. Any video that I do is my own content. What I may do is put in a clip of another video. Yes. But that's not duplicating videos. When somebody uploads an entirety part of my video, then yeah, that's a duplicate. I haven't duplicated anybody's video. But even still, even if that was true, deducting or taking away somebody's entire wage for a prior month's work is theft. I don't know what else you can call it. Even if you think the money goes to the content creator, YouTube charges significantly more to pocket themselves. My bank statement corroborates that. That's fucked up. Not only are they, and then there's no alternative. So anybody coming up with the idea of, hey, you should just go somewhere else. Where? Where? There is nowhere else. They set the rules across the market because there is nowhere else. Unless you have a large share of YouTubers and everybody else that just leaves, nothing changes. They can get rid of the smaller channels, and they don't care about the smaller channels. Look at this. YouTube has decided to partner up with the news sites. It's paying mainstream media $25 million. It doesn't care about the smaller channels. It doesn't care about the smaller channels. YouTube is trying to get rid of us. And if we leave, it is perfectly happy because it's now going to get mainstream media to get rid of the problem that it had from politicians browbeating YouTube. That's awesome. That's awesome. This bill of goods. We don't have anything else. The other big channels, for the most part, are just looking after the big channels. The smaller channels are divided. Each person has an arbitration or terms of use. And for the most part, the terms of use locks the person into, you could say, exploitive relationship with the company where they have all the power in the relationship, despite nothing taking place in YouTube without a content creator putting out content. When you're leaving a job, a company can't say, we want you to sign away your rights to unemployment. They can't do it. They can try to do it, but they can't do it. Just because something is written down or just because you get the person consent to something that's somewhat exploitive doesn't necessarily mean that that gets backed up, let's say in a court of law per se. In this very specific case, they've created a terms of use that said it is okay for them to not just prevent you from using their services, but go back in time and steal money from you that you've earned. I find that just to be fucking amazing. I find it to be fucking amazing. I'm waiting to hear back to make everything that I've said up to this point seems to be true. Seems to be true. All right, I'm going to end this. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone.